Welcome back. If you've been following the news, you may have heard about some crazy stuff that's been happening on the East Coast. What's really going to frighten you is that it's not just the East Coast. In the short time we've had this morning, we're hearing a lot more about it. We're hearing that it's literally being combated in Pennsylvania and Georgia, with National Guard being dispatched to Harrisburg and Atlanta proper, where they set up guards for the capitals. Now we're hearing that people are simply looking out their window and seeing these people that are affected by this illness. Some standing like statues, but when you approach them, they attack. Others are being described as shambling from location to location in rhythmic walks. We heard earlier that in some methods of combating this illness that they simply wait for an infected walker to repeat their circular path and they're able to subdue them. But at current, they have no way to treat or cure this illness. Once you become infected by it, it's over. But they still aren't even sure of what's causing it or how you become infected. At first it was a drug spreading through the homeless, but now we're hearing that they just aren't sure, and it may have adapted and begun to spread in different ways. When we ask some to speculate, they reference the virus or bacteria that was dug up in the Russian permafrost. But if so, why are we being infected in the States? Sure, there are rumors of China and Korea, but we haven't heard anything from Russia. Maybe the cold has affected this illness as well. We just don't know. We had been waiting for an announcement from the government, and we did get a couple of comments at one point, but they stated they wanted to give room to states to handle the situation and ask for assistance if necessary. But it's already clear that things are unfolding very quickly, with the CDC reporting multiple areas across the nation, and they're already concerned of a social hysteria gripping different areas because the visuals are not good. Posted on social media and news reports of people injured, bleeding, and even missing limbs. And we could simply say, if you have a weak stomach, not to go to these social locations to view any of this imagery. Censors are trying their best to keep ahead of it, but it seems like all of it's going viral to the point we've lost track of where the original content is even coming from. What we now know is limited, but Virginia, Tennessee, and most of the eastern states have reported some sort of attack or potential spread. Big cities like New York and Boston are on high alert and taking action ahead of any advisories to deal with the potential problems that are already beginning to develop. News sources are having a difficult time keeping up with the information coming in. We've gone to simply skimming over the information and cherry picking what is best to report to you, the listener, in hopes that the news will at some point slow down and we'll be able to catch up. Still, White House press rooms have advised that the information is much worse than the reality. They say this as we hear reports of sick standing outside public properties and 911 dispatchers who, when they do answer, say they are short of manpower and recommend hiding from the threats. Civil Defense has set up shelters in most affected areas, and CDC is confirming continuous reports that they have set up a team of individuals that are assigned to investigate these activities. But we're hearing they are already inundated with a backlog of reports as social hysteria sweeps across the U.S. and at this point, potentially the world. Still, CDC says their investigation puts this as localized events in various areas of the U.S. and that there's no reason to panic and that they are ensuring the safety throughout the country. Shortly after that, the White House announced a directive to all state governments to best fight the hysteria. They're asking for continued cooperation for a short period of time, perhaps a week or 2 weeks, to better allow for first responders to take necessary actions and to prevent the spread of the illness. The following directives were provided. 1. If you are sick or injured, contact Civil Defense at their provided emergency hotline to be advised of where to report. Most individuals are in fact not sick, but to better help in easing tension, the line is open and available. If you do have a potential for infection, they will advise of your local shelter, or in some cases may even come to your location. Number 2, retailers should limit the amount of traffic to their locations. Infected individuals are drawn to areas of high activity, so minimizing traffic at prominent locations can help to minimize risk. Consider delivery options or takeout instead of being present at the location. Number 3, screen anyone entering your establishments, especially medical ones, for illness. If you see something, say something. In some cases, people aren't reporting their illness and not taking the appropriate action that can endanger themselves or others. If you feel someone is sick, it is best to avoid them, but also report any sightings to Civil Defense hotlines provided in this advisory. If you are not an essential business, consider closing for the period to prevent the possibility of spread. Since we don't know the true virality of the pathogen, the safest path is simply avoiding it completely. And number 5, and lastly, they advise that all states should activate their National Guard to better consolidate all activity and help perform these actions. Allow National Guard leadership to direct efforts to better coordinate methods of distributing resources to various townships. The spokesperson clarified that these are, at this time, simple advisories to best combat the growing public concern and not indicative of federal concern. On the contrary, they say that from the reports they have that each state, even those most affected, have the situation well in hand, but it's important for citizens to support these activities, and these are the best ways they can do that. The safety of the population is their priority, and allowing for quick response and action will mitigate the illness in short order and allow those to get back to their normal daily activity. What was supposed to be a call for calm has had the opposite effect, crashing the hotline twice in the first few hours of its inception. Hospital lines were jammed with callers asking if they were in an affected area. When some people were asked if they would be leaving the area, they simply said, "Where could we go that this isn't happening?" Many chose to lock up their doors and windows and shelter in hopes to wait the situation out. It's also being reported that some are not taking this information lying down. Organized militias have been forming, organized around amateur radio operators with the intention of defending against any attack in their areas. While public officials have warned against this activity and to not engage anyone that is sick, this has done little to deter this activity. What is being made clear here is that we are in this for the long haul. That regardless of the statements that have been made in an attempt to induce calm, it's clear that calm is the least of the emotions. When we polled people, we found out that the majority of individuals were concerned that the illness would move to their area, and more so that they would be forced to take action to protect themselves or those they loved, especially if they became infected. From what we're deducing, in a short period of time, people are making this a priority of their life. What is clear is our information highway continues to feed this illness. We will continue to feed on it, and the news will be forced to disseminate it in the hopes to get to the bottom of the concern and its true scope, whatever that may be. We hope that emergency services, albeit stretched to the limits, can get ahead of the issue, but that at this time remains to be seen.